Welcome to the Mystery Channel, where the veil is thin and the echoes of ancient knowledge speak through myth, magic, and the turning of the cards.
Thank you very much for being a guest, Caitlín.
Thank you. So nice to be with you.
Yeah, it has been a long time since we spoke on the internet, so we never met live, but we did that some. What was it like? Yeah, not Zoom. What was before that we talked about? But what is that other?
I've been on Skype.
Skype, yeah.
Skype, yes.
Yeah. So there was this time that we were like doing something with what was it? Traditional fortune teller skills, something like that.
Yeah.
But you, me, and Andy Borovashengra that was starting up, but it never came about.
No. None of us probably have very much time. This is always the trouble. I know they say go and ask a busy person if you want to get something done, but sometimes life can get really too much busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yes.
So how are you nowadays?
Not too bad, thank you. I just yesterday was the launch of the Magic Lantern Sibilla, so I've been trying to get that out for a very, very long time, and I worked on it finally with Anastasia Cashin, and it was printed. It was out yesterday, but there's a long history behind it because I asked another artist to help me, and basically this is like, quite a few years ago now, and I'm afraid the artwork did not come, so I sacked it will start all over again, which was probably good because it gave me more time to write a much longer book.
Mm-hmm.
So
I ordered that, and it's in the mailbox, so I have to get it. I am so excited about that. It's the one I was showing you. It looks amazing.
Yeah, she's a really good artist, Anastasia, and you know how so many decks that we see, the concept can sometimes be really good, but if the artwork is not, like if the figure work is not good, you don't want to work with it.
Yes.
I just love it when I find a really, really good artist, and Anastasia's figure work is just impeccable. So, and we decided to stay traditional in terms of its look because we made it all about the Risorgimento. So we called it the Magic Lantern Sibilla because there was no cinema, there was no Instagram, there was nothing like we're now talking on. And it was Anastasia's idea. She said, why don't we just call it that? Because the Magic Lantern Man was the man that went round and showed slides to people, which was not moving pictures, but they were often colorized pictures. And so people could see other places, other countries, strange things happening, in the north of their own country and so on. So it was kind of like the news and a film all rolled into one.
Yeah.
And the cards are like that because if you look at any of these Magic Lantern slides, they are just like an image of a card. They have a very usually brightly coloured image or a photograph on them. And the Magic Lantern Man gets to talk about it for a long time, which is slightly reminiscent of what we do. So what about yourself? How are you doing and what is happening now?
Yeah, I'm so glad that I met Morgan in a project that someone wanted to launch but that not came about. But we had a very good click in that regard, so we decided to do a project around everything to do with mystery. Yes, that's a great thing to do. So we are very much into mythology and all that. So and that's also something funny because I know you are, with Celtic heritage and all that, and I always really like that, and like German myths, the Indo-European culture and all that, but we never talked about that in the past. So it was always like the main course was like cartomancy and all that, but that was for me just a side dish in that regard of my main interest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the same with us, divination is part of a much wider framework of ways people have understood what's not here yet, or how to talk about things you want to do, and what the parameters of things are. So I think, myth has always done that. And it's really important to our household, I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about aliens and things like that. That's going to be a concern of mine, But I am very interested in how people see and believe and what they understand. And of course, because mythology is our cultural imagination forms our mythology and where we live. So if we live in icy regions in the north, then all our mythology is about ice giants and things like that, which seems very reasonable. But you know, many years ago, we asked Sir John Borman, who made Excalibur, to come to a conference we were giving, and we had a very interesting conversation with him. And he said, you know, Christianity is the imposition of a desert religion upon a forest people.
Yeah.
Of course, is our Northern European experience of that. So, and I suppose you could say that, you know, that you know, desert religions, when applied to the Amazonian rainforest, come out very differently. You know.
Yeah.
So I think those things that form our cultural imagination are so important to us, and that's what we see and understand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So myth. How do you think that myth will evolve now in these times? Because it's still relevant.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, you know, I really believe with Sallustius, who was the amanuensis of the Emperor Julian, who tried to reintroduce the pagan Roman religion back to the world. And he said, myth is something that has never happened and is happening all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, we've now moved into a world where myth has completely reversed out its meaning. So instead of being the truest thing that can be in terms of its metaphor, it now means something that's completely untrue for most people. Mm-hmm. So we have to do something about that. I think that's really important because, so I mean, for example, you know, if I describe my house to you, you know, and you've never seen it, then you have an image of it, you understand it. And then you come to my house and maybe it looks a bit different from how you imagined it, but it will feel the same.
Yeah.
So that everyone will sort of recognize what is in their imagination description. So, so we know when something is right and proper, not necessarily true in an absolutely, you know, delineated way, but just very, very clear. And now we've got this terrible two things going on. I think that and the, I mean, Mr. Campbell is a bit of a problem, you know, Joseph Campbell, because he's told the world that myth is about the hero's journey. It's all about you. And actually, historically and completely around the world, mythology is about community and not about individuals. And while, yes, people like, you know, Hollywood can put films together based on sort of books about what people think mythology should be like, in some standardized way, mythology is never standard.
No.
It's always completely individual to that. And I think we have a problem with people trying to recreate the myth in their own lives, which is not necessarily a good thing. It could lead to things pathological. Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know a lot of people, I'm sure, who once had ordinary names and now they're called, you know, Daisy Catchflower or whatever, some sort of magical name, and then they go and live that name. John and I were just talking about someone we used to know a long time ago who was a lovely Scotsman, and he just fetched up one day and said, I'm not going to be called my name anymore, I'm going to be called this other mythical name. And we thought, okay, that's good for you, okay. But then when we next met him, we didn't recognize him. He had become his other name.
Yeah.
And so he became, instead of this gentle, quietly spoken man, he became outrageously belligerent and unkind and all the things you never want your friend to be like. Very sad. I don't think he's alive anymore now, but it was very saddening to see that. So I think we have to be careful too.
Yeah, we live in strange times, maybe, isn't it? In that regard.
Yeah.
Do you think that people have a poor imagination nowadays?
I think some people are beginning to have, they're not trusting their imagination, or they're being tempted to do that. And so, as with, well, I mean, a lot of things, like, I have a shamanic practice. I see people in where I'm looking at things of mysterious causation. But when you track back, what caused the difficulty that they're having, very often it's about they've turned their instinct button right down, so they haven't got the volume on it anymore. They can't quite hear. So, which is very difficult, because, instinct is something that says you're about to go out the door and your umbrella waves at you, and you think, oh no, I'm not going to carry an umbrella today. And okay, the worst thing that can happen is you're going to get wet. But it's exactly the same instinct that says, don't get on the next bus, or don't sign on the dotted line, don't marry the bastard, all of those things. Which I think, we need to be listening to.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So I think, myth is just, is wonderful, and I would wish it a very happy future, but I don't want myth operated by AI.
Yes.
Is that possible anyway?
Well, I'll tell you how. I have a friend whose sister was my very best friend, and he and I talk sometimes, and he was saying a few months ago, oh, isn't it great? The goddess Estrella, she's the goddess of delight. My sister used to love her. And I thought, hang on there. Where on earth did you get that definition of Estrella, who is the goddess of justice, and who was so pissed off with the earth that she left the earth in order to stay out of things so that she could have a better handle on it? How on earth did she become the goddess of delight? And someone who invokes Estrella as the goddess of delight, what kind of pick and mix do they get? Yeah? That's going to be like, opening a parcel which has very strange contents in it. So I think those kinds of things happen because a bot has trawled through some, if you look at a lot of very, easy to find entries about any divinity or spirit, you'll find that the first paragraph reads okay, and then the second paragraph reads very similarly to the first paragraph, because AI has just slightly rewritten this one paragraph of material that it has, and so it can lead into some other thing. So that seems to be pretty scary to me.
Yeah. Are you worried?
Yeah. If you put your money in the slot, you really want to have hot chocolate. You do not want to have tea with extra gravy. Yes.
I like that.
So, we have a responsibility, if we're working within a particular tradition, to ensure that this is not happening.
Yeah.
How you patrol that, I really don't know.
Yeah. A myth is also intrinsic with people. So wherever over the world, there are some things people do organically. They come up with a myth somehow explaining how the world came to be, or how the city came to be. Or so I think that it's always something that is deep inside of us. So if we get thrown off electricity or the internet or whatever, that it's somehow, that we come up with a myth to get a grip on what we are doing or something like that. So
AI will do it for us, which is not a very good thing for human beings, because human beings need to be able to pass knowledge on to each other. And you and I have been already in the divination world, see how readily that breaks down, and how quickly when certain people get hold of the wrong end of the stick. And it's something that was deeply traditional and works in a particular way. It's like, I'm sure you can make omelettes in lots of different ways, and there are standard ways that people are taught to make an omelette. But, if you crack eggs in a pan, something will come together. But there are certain other things that don't work as well. And I was quite appalled the other week. Someone had got an early copy of the magic Lantern Sibilla and was already laying it out with some other cards whose use I don't know. radio, but it was like mixing two systems together, which is very strange to me.
Yeah. But if someone comes to you in your practice for shamanism or whatever, so that experience, that will always be much better than any encounter with ChatGPT that you can have, isn't it?
Oh God, yes, yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's the way to do it, to bring people in contact with real shamanism or real myths in that regard. So if I imagine going back all those ages, or even like a troubadour, and he was like singing or about to tell a story, how people, they were not like, they really still had imagination, and how the spoken word was back in the days. And I say, okay, now imagine that we go back to a time once and forever, how people, it was, I think it's always like a hypnosis, like in a trance state, and they were going like that, and it was really a job, it was really an art to do that.
And so, it's not so long ago, because our parents and grandparents listened to the radio, but television was not something everyone had. I mean, in Britain, most people didn't have a television until our late Queen was crowned in 1953, and then people hired televisions. That was a very strange thing. They hired a television, but before that time, so in the before the 1950s, most people in this country, and I'm sure in parts of Europe, were listening to the radio.
Yeah.
And so again, you closed your eyes, or you did your knitting, or stroked the cat, or played with your children, and you listened to a drama, or you listened to things unfolding on the radio. So people still had an oral imagination.
Much richer than nowadays, I think.
It's much, exactly.
What can we do about that?
Yeah.
That's the question.
I think that, the telling of stories is still something that people love. And it's sad that it has to be exercised at the gossip end of the social event calendar rather than whatever. I was just standing at the checkout this week in the shop, and there was a very much older woman behind me, and she was looking at the magazines, and I said, I don't think the women's magazines have many knitting patterns in them anymore. There's no tricotage there anymore. And she said, no, she said, it's all gossip. Which that's not necessarily what we want to be listening to. We would like to have the stories that feed our soul and that keep us going. And I know a lot of storytellers, and it's wonderful. There's one woman who's a Jewish storyteller, and I think she has hundreds of stories. And often when she's telling, they're often from biblical sources as well as folk sources. And she often gets to a point and says, but of course, that's like the time when Moses had the brazen serpent, but that is a story for another time. And she heads off the story, unlike telling a really long joke, just goes straight back to the story she was telling. But always join up the edges, yes.
That's a real art.
It really is.
Yes.
Extraordinary, yeah. So I think we still have the capacity to listen to the story, and we want the story. We desire the story so badly, and it's people feel a great sense of betrayal when it's told badly.
Yes. Yeah. Or being, or not even being told at all. Because I've noticed that recently. I'm staying with my sister, and the kids didn't know who Jesus was, which, because we were raised religion, so I could see why she's staying away from that. But she just assumed they knew stories. But that's the thing, is teaching the younger generation or talking to other people. They don't know about it because we just assume they know about it. So then we stop telling these stories,
Yeah. I mean, I got to a point now where I have to be very careful, because I'm in my 70s, and so a lot of my metaphors are very old. I mean, like I love talking about when people say, well, how do we belong to the earth? And I love using the metaphor of an analog television, which of course nobody has anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a horizontal and the vertical hold, which is like, we're rooted in the earth, which is our vertical hold, which is like wherever we are it is our place, and our ancestors go back. But where we live, our horizontal hold, is actually also has to be part of that, because we can't, otherwise we live in a ghetto, and that doesn't work. Because things fossilize, and work so well. So we need to sort of keep a healthy balance between those. But I can't use that metaphor anymore. And I can't use the metaphor of, a camera with f-stops on it. Because it's fantastic. I use this all the time when talking about divination, because, people understand that if you type in car as a web search, it will bring you up more entries than you can possibly deal with. If you put in Aston Martin 1962 with green trim, it only goes down to a few hundred or thousand. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like the f-stops did that. It was the big wide lens, and then it got narrow. And so the more exact the question, the more exact the answer.
Yeah.
And people say, well, that was a rubbish reading. And it's like, well, let's sharpen the question.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I like that example.
I need new metaphors in many respects now. I find quite challenging.
But people know.
The function of a metaphor, that's also something magical. It seems that people don't understand that or respect that anymore.
No, yeah, even the old phrasings, like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Most people don't understand the origin and then what it actually does mean now.
No,
I have that problem.
I have to use them all the time with clients in my healing practice, because whatever someone's activities and understandings are, I've got to find those out very quickly. Because so, for example, if I have an Oxford Don who needs some help, then we can talk about Heraclitus, and we can talk about not stepping in the same river twice and that sort of thing.
Yes.
We can from the whole of sort of Greek understanding. But if the person who's coming to see me works on the railway, then I need to talk about things in separate carriages. I need to talk about things running on rails. I need to talk about sidings. I need to talk about all sorts of things like that. And then we're on the same page. But I can't use highfalutin Greek imagery for the person who works on the railway, nor the metaphor of the railway to the Greek professor. It doesn't work.
It does remind me on what I always say, like nowadays you have like NLP, that I find is old wine in new bottles. It's about rhetorics.
Yeah,
exactly. So this is we're entering into a very strange time when a lot of the givens which have been in our, not just in our educational knowledge, but also in our everyday speaking to each other, are now becoming foreign. To people, or it's like a different way of looking at things. So there are lots of challenges with how things are changing, and the inability of people now to do very much debate. They immediately go into complete adversarial conflict.
Yes.
There's no sort of space for discussing difficult things. It's very bad for us as human beings. I've spent most of the afternoon translating, and this morning, translating Peter Abelard. I'm doing some research. Peter Abelard at the moment, I'm writing something there, but I just translated 2 of his hymns, and one of them is just so incredibly, it's like he was listening to the news. It's est in Rama vox audita Raquel fluente. So it's now in Rama, hear the voices, Rachel crying for her children, dead, oh dead, now she is wailing, torn to pieces every member of the tiny little ones. And see where, I can't read my writing, see where milk as well as blood soaks to the earth there. So it's kind of, this was written in the early 12th century, and he's giving us picture exactly of what we are and where we are now, and which the whole world is looking at. It's just remarkable. And yes, I know that the prophets, the Hebrew prophets talked about this, and that Jesus took it up. But it is remarkably salient for our time.
Back in the days, medieval times and all that is very interesting. So I know you and John as well. You really studied the Arthur legends and all that. So and those stories, that's also a symbol string on its own. So, and if you read like other stories of knights and all that they have somehow the same structure in that regard. So it's very interesting, those medieval times and how their worldview was, and also how that was with alchemy, going from one position to another, and that they had a really the metaphysical thinking. That's something very interesting, I find.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the Arthurian legends, I mean, quite apart from being the longest running soap in the world, you know that, Chrétien de Troyes never finished his story of the Grail, his Percival. And it sort of literally finishes in the middle of a line. It says, and then the page went and you turn the page over, everyone went, ah! And there are actually 4 continuators. They're actually called the second, third, and fourth continuator because they both went, we can't do this. And they wrote more stuff then. And then people, hey, we had a really good story. Can we have another one of those? And so we were explaining to someone the other day that there are Arthurian legends from Iceland to Israel, which there are actually Hebrew tellings of the Arthurian story.
Oh gosh,
it's amazing. But
there are also Syrian stories from the first or second century have like the same structure. Like, what was it called? The hymn of the pearl or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, but all these stories are stories of honor. They're about love and honor usually, as well as a bit of jousting and battle. Defending the right.
It's like the amor stuff and like the knights that's going on.
So I think we have, and we still are interested in all those things, but I think we need tales of honor now, which are not caught up with nationality, but with about humanity. Be really good here now, and so much of the retelling of these now televisually is always about how nasty it was and how bloody and that. And miss the honor somehow, which is not good for us. We need a bit of honor in the mix. Maybe we need more Spanish TV. They're quite good at
the Zorro,
really
definitely
about that.
Oh yeah, I enjoy that. Yeah, that's why I actually got a bunch of your children's books too. Not the but like the barefoot princesses, and a bunch of the stories to read to them, so that you could bring all of that back into my nieces and nephews. Like we're starting at the beginning in myths here. We're going straight back.
Well, you know what books are like. You get them out. The publisher publishes them, and then they go out of print, which is like most of books are out of print right now. So that's very sad. But then you need to go away and find artists and get them re-illustrated, because the old illustrators are too old now. And nobody thinks it had been published before.
But they're still, I was able to get all of them, so I wonder if I was just hitting the right used bookstores and stuff.
I could probably find quite a few. I should imagine.
Yes.
You did so many things. That's really amazing.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
What you all created.
So people sort of think we've been, I mean, John is particularly bad because he's this year he's had more books out than any other year that we've been together, and some of them are reprints. But I mean, he's had one. I did an unboxing, a video on Facebook because he'd been waiting 10 years for his edition of Mallory, which he did a long time ago, and which was going to be a Kickstarter. I mean, God knows there are people waiting 10 years for this book, which is enormous. It's absolutely, it weighs 2 kilos. It's on good paper board, and I had to do a video of him unpacking it because it was such a moment. And we still don't know that we can get any more copies of it. So, or whether they've just been made in fulfillment of the pre-order. So it's that kind of lack of communication which we find very difficult. Our work, and whether who's doing what with it.
I can imagine you've been in the business for so long time, so you have seen the evolution in that regard.
Well, devolution. I think it's devolution. We remember publishing houses when they were still you agreed on something with your editor, and now of course the editor has no power. I love this book, I want to do it, we will do it. Not the owner of the publishing house. Now the owner of the publishing house says, why would we want to do that?
That's difficult.
How many, in fact, last year John proposed a book to a publisher, and they wrote back and said, who are you?
Really?
Basically because they went on the internet and they couldn't find enough John. It was like he didn't have enough people, so he was a nobody. He's published 150 books. It's just
That's insane.
And you're both so big names in the scene.
Oh, yeah.
No, it doesn't pile up to a pile of beans, I'm afraid, when it comes to publishing. And they still want us to completely do all the promotion for them.
Yeah.
So there are no publicists doing this unless you engage one. So
That's sad.
I haven't got time to do that. I want to be translating Abelard. I want to be studying. I want to be writing.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so me too.
My novel. I want to do some stories. I don't want to have to do all that stuff. Other people are good at doing that. Let them do it. I'm very happy to turn up and say, "Hi, yes, do read it," and go away again.
Yeah. Yes.
That's my job. Is to do that. Working around films, you sort of see how the actors have to show up and do this with the filmmaker. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just get like a bunch of journalists into the room, they get them one at a time. Imagine having to talk about your work one at a time to somebody who is not particularly interested or not like serially throughout the whole day. And I know that some actors at the end of the day start telling stories, which are not true because they're bored now and they want to tell a story.
Yes.
And they can't tell real stories about what happened on set because those are very discouraged.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that. Gossip. Oh, that's crazy. I still find that, sorry. Oh, no, I was just going back on the publishing thing, how it changed, because you did like the songwriting and stuff for like many movies too, though. So that, so that should give you guys credit in every world with the publishing as well. Because it was amazing. We watched the movies you actually did the songwriting for, and they were amazing, I really like how you started with that.
But you know what the clause in my contract with the mouse, the great mouse, was? I may not sing my song in any form that exists or may exist in the world, the universe, in perpetuity.
Oh my gosh.
I'm really not exaggerating or making that up. It actually reads that way. So it means I cannot even be reincarnated on another planet and sing my own song.
Oh, that you wrote. Oh no, because they were amazing, like truly inspirational. That's hard.
The actress didn't sing it correctly, so I can sing myself.
Oh, she didn't sing it. Oh no, she didn't.
It took 2 hours to learn it, and she couldn't get. There was a particular interval she couldn't get, so it was fine. And anyway, I would just put it into Gaelic or something and sing it that way. So it was.
Oh yeah. Oh, see, yeah, because I would love to hear the original version of that song. Because I thought it was amazing in the movie, but if it's actually not what you originally intended,
no, there's a whole bunch of people online that have written all sorts of verses to it, which are not mine.
Oh,
the whole song was not sung in the film, so they've just sort of come up with other things. But I know the words.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was gonna say I would love to hear it, but if you're under contract, then you can't even go into another universe. I guess we're never going to hear it.
Yeah, if I'm singing it in a room with some people, I usually have to say, the phones are all down, yes?
Oh.
because I would be...
Isn't that crazy in the end?
That is crazy, I know.
Yeah, because to be able to not put your works out, because your works are amazing, and to not even be able to put that out into the world, that is sad. That's just sad, though.
Very sad, yeah.
Yeah, because that was a song.
I've been covered by a lot of people, but they didn't have the original song, so...
Well, no, because it's authentically you. It goes back to the Chat GPT. You have that original beauty of the song and the words, and nobody can emulate it. Yeah.
No, they had the recording, and that was it. But they held we will not even put this in the film unless you give us the copyright.
Oh wow! Yeah, that's crazy.
The only time I've ever done that, and we were over a barrel, really. I had my agent and my music agent both. Mm-hmm. I said, no, there's no way these people are going to go down. So there we go.
Had to do.
We all put up with these inconveniences.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Good old Alan Moore, who's had various pieces of his work made into films, and his name is not on one of them. Because like V for Vendetta and things like that, yeah, because they've never done things the way he wants them done.
Oh.
That's what I call control. But
Yeah.
a sort of a strange simulacra of what he wrote, but it's not how he would have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bang out of order.
Yeah, to change originally. Yeah. And that goes right back to the myths, how people are changing it to exactly what they want without the beauty and originality of the original. Oh,
It's actually the problem, isn't it? I think in French it's much more interesting because it's chat GPT, which is cat I farted. So, which I think is a very good way of thinking about this whole thing about AI, which I'm very anti. I call it the school of scraping and thievery, because that's what it does. It scrapes my work and reproduces it elsewhere. And if people used to do that in the past, I used to be able to take them to court.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems very strange to me that this should even be, and especially our government here is saying that everything should be AI, and it's horrific, absolutely horrific to me. I think, please, let AI look at my X-rays and find anomalies that the doctors can't find. Let AI uncurl or read through the carbonated scrolls of Herculaneum, that cannot be read in any way because they're just charcoal. And put the Greek together. That's wonderful. But please just take, AI away from the creative world because it's not what we need.
Yeah.
I can think up rhymes for poems if I need them. I really don't need assistance.
Yeah, no, of course. It comes from you. Yeah. And
But in the end, Caitlín, is it not us who have to decide where our autonomy is and what we do value?
Exactly. Now, I stand with the Authors Licensing and Copyright Society and the Society of Authors. And I've done quite a lot of bit of work in that regard to ensure that, we continue in a creative way and not in a way of having our work stolen, reused in some strange way.
Because I love your works. I was actually telling Bjorn, was it 3 years ago, because I got the HoloQuest. I actually did the entire HoloQuest, starting with the solstices, every single one to the end, and it was so amazing. Because I love how you lined it with the seasons, and then even the cards matched the seasons, and how you worked through that book. So that's what I would challenge people to do, because that was such an amazing experience to start it from the beginning all the way through the year, to work through it.
But only you could inhabit that landscape. That's why the cards are landscapes, except for the mages.
Yes. Oh yeah. But yeah, because you had walking into the cards, and then actually the meditations going into the cards, and how you would see it to get out of the, shadows. Sorry, not the shadow.
Those landscapes that are different to other people, which is extraordinary. So things that are not painted in there, but when they enter them as cards, they see other things, which is wonderful. But that's how these things work.
Yeah, because your own experience.
Can you maybe give the listeners or the viewers a hint how to connect with their ancestral powers, or in that regard, how do you think that people should start with that? Can you give a hint or a clue?
In terms of, are we talking about AI?
No, just real.
Yeah, look, that's actually have a similar question. That's funny too, about your singing, how you sing through the spirits too.
But I mean, the the whole shape of our world, seen and unseen, is shaped by what we do and what we think and how we respond to it. And also the ethical manner in which we live. That's very important, I feel, at this moment. It's one of the reasons I decided to do a course on the golden verses of Hierocles, which is basically this teaching of Pythagoras, which comes down from 25 centuries ago, which is extraordinary to me, that these were ways that people have used over and over and over and over. And I thought, well, we're in some very difficult times right now. We need a bit of backup, and it's sort of really basic advice. It's nothing out of the ordinary for people, but just for someone to say it and for us to do it seemed very important at this time, because a lot of people career off and do all kinds of different mystical traditions and so on, but a lot of those don't come with ethical underpinning, so people go and appropriate them. it didn't cost them anything to learn them. Other people have done the research, and they haven't actually contributed to them unless they're actually living them. So this seems to be very important for our time, is find good ways to live in ways that we, as I always say to my students, it's like the trick with all of life is to, in order to live well, is that we must work for others, but not at the expense of ourselves. And that we must work for ourselves, but not at the expense of others.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And and the sort of the basic wisdom of the world is on the back of the airplane seat, which says, fit your own air mask before fitting that of your dependent, because if we don't take care of where we're standing, we can't be of any use to anyone else anyway. But finding that balance where, we're putting in enough support for others. I was just talking to someone this week who's going to be doing a program about, he was calling it spiritual awakening, about how people come to mystical awareness and understanding, and he was talking out in very different language from myself. But then I sort of realised, what he actually was saying. He wanted to make a film about the things that used to be around, the resources that we used to have, are not with us in the same way now. So spiritual traditions that our parents and grandparents may have had, a lot of people haven't grown up in them. As you said, no one knows who Jesus is. Who is that man with those thorns on his head? As mine's niece said to her in an art gallery, But so people don't come with the paraphernalia. They don't know how to pray. They don't know how to look at and work with particular things. And it reminded me, there was a recent project an environmental project to save the bald ibis. And the bald ibis is this very unusual looking bird that looks a bit like a toucan, but it's European. It's got black feathers and this very strange red beak, and they don't know how to migrate anymore. And so somebody came along and said, okay, let's fix this. And so working on the principle that Konrad Lorenz taught about how birds imprint upon the first thing they see, was like the mother of the bald ibises wore yellow. I mean, like bright egg yolk yellow. And so they imprinted on her. So she was the mother. They would follow her everywhere. And then they thought, how do we get these birds to migrate again? Because they're living in Turkey and thereabouts, and they actually need to go to Spain or wherever. And so they created a program whereby they got one of these microlight planes covered with a yellow canopy. No! That someone was driving, and with her sitting out the back crying to them, crying the cry that she cries when she gives them food, to get them to rise up in the air. So they did practice runs with this, and then eventually they took off, and then they would have to get up and go down because they didn't fly very far. And so the migration took a long time. Gradually they got all the way to Spain. I mean, they had a few difficulties on the way, like they'd land in a field where someone had a yellow tent, for example. Yellow sign saying whatever. So they did have a few problems and had to gather them up again because they got excited. But then, they put collars on them, and they know how to do the migration. That's what we're doing. Yes, it's like people don't know how to do these basic things, and somehow we have to model them, which is what this guy was really sort of on about, I think. So if you don't see something and how it's done, you don't understand it. You'll appreciate this, especially Dion. This is a story when publishers have to sell things at book fairs for you. One of them took one of the Lenormands that I did to a book fair, and he said to me before he went, so there are 36 cards. I said, yes. He said, and there are 36 positions. I said, yes. He said, so the idea is to put 1 on 1 and 2 on 2, and that's how we do it, is it? It's like, absolutely no understanding of randomization, because of course he's never used it before. And this is the man who's going to sell my book to a bunch of foreign publishers. Yes.
Oh no.
On those kind of problems, we need the woman in the yellow costume shouting at people to come and feed now.
Some people.
Oh,
there's still a lot of work to do.
Oh, so much, yeah. Yeah.
Really, I mean,
Yeah.
John recently, he's been doing a foundation course, and it's an intake course for people who haven't done any kind of journeying or shamanic work at all. So it's very basic. And this last year, he said, well, I opened, we called in the directions, we did all these things, and he said, someone said, why are you doing that? In a very serious way. They'd never seen anyone do that before, and they didn't know what it was and why we needed to. That's quite scary.
Yeah.
Yes. Ritual for like all of my life, and even I knew, as someone who'd never been exposed to ritual, that's what you did when I was 12-year-old. So it was like, how can we forget these things?
That is sad.
Now.
Yeah.
People and animals alike, we have ritualistic tendencies if you observe it. So that's something organically.
Yeah, and hopefully not forgetting it like the birds. Putting it back out in the world. That's the thing. Just keep talking about these things and putting it into the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm doing.
we will not take any more of your precious time. I hope that you cook a lovely meal and have
you very much,
lovely time with your amazing husband.
Yes.
I wonder if you have somehow, or do you have actual real conversations about chit-chat or something? Or are you always talking about serious stuff? Or
I'm always talking about serious stuff. John and I are both Capricorns, try stopping us.
Yes, I love that.
Not a couple of Geminis, no, that doesn't help us, no.
Yeah.
As a Capricorn, I understand it.
Yeah, that must be amazing. Yeah.
We always talk quite seriously, and the soundbite's likely to be serious rather than
You are really a special couple in that regard. One of a kind, I think, isn't it?
So, lovely to meet you both, and have a very good evening.
You too. It was amazing to meet you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.